Hello, and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast. My name is Juliana Smith, and I serve as the Deputy Athletics Director and Senior Women Administrator at Colgate University. I'm a proud graduate of the NCAA Dr. Charles Whitcomb Leadership Institute. The Leadership Institute helped me refine my gifts and develop new skills for navigating my career as a college athletics professional. I gained clarity about how I want to continue serving within college athletics, and the Leadership Institute helped me build a community of colleagues who support and challenge me through meaningful relationships. As leaders, we should accept the responsibility to continue learning, to continue growing, and to bring others along with us.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast, where we highlight executive and organizational leadership. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 1Q Leadership. Our guest today is Darrice Griffin. Darrice is the Senior Deputy Director of Athletics at University of Georgia. Greetings, Darrice. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation.
Now, Darrice, you spent time at University of Massachusetts and Columbia. You've been in the industry for almost 15 years, including roles supervising football, amongst other sports, student-athlete development, internal operations, and other important functions within an athletics department. So I think, including your playing time, your familiarity with leadership, I think will make for a good conversation here on the podcast. One thing I do wonder about the position you're in a position where, especially at Georgia, where women in leadership positions isn't something that's foreign, right? People have come out and become athletics directors. I wonder about stepping into that position where, I don't know what you want to do with your future, but being in a role at a school where women have gone on to become leaders of their own departments. Tell me about that as you progress to the position you're in now there at Georgia.
You acknowledged some facts there regarding the University of Georgia and the institutional commitment to empowering and developing women leaders. And I must lead with an acknowledgement of Dr. Carla Williams, who's now the Director of Athletics at the University of Virginia. She did sit in this chair before I was given the opportunity to serve this institution. And I followed her career from afar, being a Black woman. And when I watched with pride and inspiration her deliver her welcoming remarks at her press conference at UVA, I immediately said, I want to learn about Georgia and I want to know what they're doing with her position, because what I heard that day was a leader speak very highly of this campus community and this environment. And what I also heard that day was a organization committed to inclusion and diversity and preparing everybody, men and women, for leadership opportunities. So yeah, just following her and learning more about the institution, I knew I got in hot pursuit of the opportunity because I wanted to be in this environment and I wanted to learn and grow here and possibly set myself up for a similar opportunity like Dr. Williams has in leading an elite athletic department at an elite institution.
Yeah, right, which is important and very influential in terms of the industry and in terms of just women or people just seeing from afar, like you just mentioned.
Yeah, that's why meaningful representation is so important. And so, yeah.
It is 100%. One thing I do want to know is about your role as Senior Deputy Director of Athletics. Of course, the role of Deputy Athletics Director can be defined in a number of different ways at a number of different institutions throughout the country, throughout college athletics on all divisions, right? And you actually have been the Deputy Director of Athletics before you arrived at Georgia. But thinking about your role specifically there, Senior Deputy Director of Athletics, you have a number of responsibilities and a number of different decision points that you have to make when executing your role. What do you consider your primary decision-making point that's tied to your position? Or is there a primary decision-making point? Is there one thing you're really responsible for, or is just everything is important, everything is top priority? How do you balance that in terms of making decisions?
Yeah, I would say there's not just one primary decision-making point. There are many. And it depends on the issue, the item, or what we're trying to lead through or manage through. For me and the Athletic Association, we try to step into situations focusing on the values of the institution and our defined priorities, and then collaboration, making sure we got all the right people around the table, given whatever the issue or the item or the opportunity may be. And then us working together to make the most effective or the best decision for the organization and for our people. On a personal level, I think protect the institution, protect our people. And what do I need to do to, work through solutions, resolutions, and what I may present to our director of athletics or, university president regarding any issues or, like I said, opportunities that we may be facing.
You said two things there I want to kind of climb into a little bit. You said when making a decision, you think about the values of the institutions and the priorities for the athletic association there at Georgia. When we first opened up, you said you saw Dr. Williams and she gets the job and you're thinking maybe Georgia's something I need to look at because of the way they, have emphasized and promoted women in leadership roles. I wonder when you interviewed and when you get to the job and you have to learn, right, the values of the institution and the priorities for the department. Tell me about how those aligned with you specifically, right? Because you could have interviewed and sat down and realized, I don't even fit in this institution because their values don't align with my values. But I wonder about those two, the fit when you were onboarding with the association and deciding that, yeah, this is a place I want to be because of the values of the organization and the priorities that tie to athletics.
Three themes emerged in the interview process, which were key for me in making the decision to join the athletic association. And those three themes have been pervasive and true in my experience here thus far. I would say the first word is experience, not to be redundant, but it was experience. I learned in the interview process that a core focus and a core priority for the institution and the athletic department was the experience of the people who either study here or work here. And wanting that experience to be one that challenges you, empowers you, and prepares you for whatever may come of this opportunity. So experience is one key. The second was excellence in all that we do. This university and my previous stops were very elite academic institutions and athletic departments that are committed to broad-based excellence, meaning we want more than just football and men's basketball to be successful. We want our gymnastics program to thrive and to have what they need to excel and to pursue championships. And we want women's tennis. If we're going to sponsor a sport, we want to be great in that sport, and we want to make sure that we're pouring resources into that program for that sport to, like I said, chase or pursue championship experiences for our students and our staff. And then the third theme that emerged in the interview process, and that has been true in my experience here to date, has been just this commitment to inclusion. And I want to give credit to Greg McGarity, who hired me here. Greg made it very clear that he wanted a strong female leader, a person of color who had student athlete experiences, because he values what somebody with that profile brings to his leadership team. So, yeah, those were the three values that emerged in the interview process. They're the three things I considered in my decision-making process about joining the team. And there are three pillars, three key points that are fundamental to what we do and how we try to do it every day here.
Yeah, it's interesting you said those things. And thinking about the three: experience, commitment to the excellence in terms of all the sports and the student athlete experience, and then also the commitment to inclusion. The latter two, the commitment to inclusion, you can see that in meetings in terms of thought in the people who are hired and brought into the department. And then the commitment to excellence with the sports, it's easy to evaluate because you being on the inside, you can tell if these sports are being resourced like they need, if they're successful, if the coaches are getting what they want, student athletes are getting what they need. How are you evaluating the experience being where you are and the commitment to the other two?
Yeah, I think, you evaluate experience in some formal and informal ways. And for me, the informal ways are being present, having relationships and genuine connections with our coaches, our staff, and our student athletes. You'd be amazed when you're present and you show up for a practice on a consistent and frequent basis. Your student athletes begin to know you and to trust you and to be open with you. And so in casual settings, whether we're on the bus or headed to the airport, I'm stopping by our training table, which is where our student athletes eat. Now that I've got these established relationships and these connections, just in an informal conversation, they speak to the quality of the experience that they're having here. Feel like you're getting what you need. How's practice going? How you feeling? And again, I think that's born out of being present and being really intentional about building relationships and having connections with the people in your organization. And that's true for staff and coaches. We've got an incredible leader in Coach Joni Taylor, who leads our women's basketball program here. Because of how much we talk regarding the program and program operations, I'm confident that she is having a great experience leading our women's basketball team here, just because of the nature of our relationship, the power and the strength of the working relationship that we have. So, yeah, those are the informal ways that you test and analyze experience, just being present and having relationships with your people. And then there are more formal surveys that we administer to help us understand. We have qualitative and quantitative data that we seek on an annual basis from student athletes and staff regarding our environment, the culture, the climate, whether or not people feel like we're servicing and supporting them and setting them up for success based on the resources and the investment decisions that we make. So informal and formal ways to test and analyze the experience that our people are having in the athletic association.
It's interesting. The conversation it keeps going back to this servant leadership thing, right? I ask you a question about you and you're talking about how you are serving others. I wonder about the informal way of gauging other people's experience. Does that feed your personal satisfaction in knowing that I'm doing a good job? If people are, A, like you mentioned, comfortable enough to tell you whether they're doing well or not doing well, or B, people are happy to tell you that things are going excellent and I have what I need, and you can tell we are succeeding by the way our student athletes look or doing, or the way the score we're getting, or whatever it is. I wonder if that's something that internally helps you gauge on if you're doing your own good job, because the people are comfortable enough to feed into you the good, the bad, the great, the challenges, etc.
You said the word servant leadership, and that's true. I try to show up every day as a servant leader. I think it's a privilege to serve this institution. I'm not here if our student athletes and our coaches aren't here. So yes, I do attack every day and every opportunity in working here to serve our people. And I do feel like one of many hallmarks or measures that I'm evaluated on as a leader in our organization is, are the people around me confident in me and psychologically secure enough with me to engage in candid conversations with me regarding their experience. And so, yes, it is important to me. And I think a part of my job, given the scope of my responsibilities, for people to feel confident and comfortable in coming to me regarding their experience here.
The informally, I'll give you an example. For me, if I wrote a paper in school, if you just tell me I did a great job on a paper, I don't know how to improve. Where can I improve if you just tell me I do a good job? But give me the paper back with a bunch of red marks on it. I know that there are areas for me to improve. And it sounds to me the way you gauge yourself, in addition to being evaluated by whoever you report to, there's also this internal gauge of, are people comfortable enough? Or, like you mentioned, are people psychologically safe enough to come to me with issues? Are people, and that's kind of an internal gauge to know that, I am doing a good job here. The things that we are doing as a department and things I am doing in this role are working, so people are happy. I think that's a very impressive thing.
I've had many people model the way for me, so yes.
I wonder about that, because that's a very specific way of being a servant leader, and a specific introspective way of gauging yourself there. I wonder, you've been in the deputy role before, right? You've been in a role to be the chief anticipator for an athletics director before. And I wonder if your leadership has always been this way or if there was an evolution of it, because you were a celebrated student athlete and sure you had a leadership role then. You've been in this role, deputy. You've been in a number of roles throughout your career in almost 15 years in college athletics. So I wonder about the evolution of your leadership philosophy and how you arrived to where you are.
Early in my career, it was definitely the servant mentality. I worked at Columbia University. And thankfully, that's an environment where you have to wear many hats. And I tell people that I believe I was given the promotional opportunities that I was given at Columbia University because I did approach the position there from a position of service and a growth mindset. So I wanted to know what we were doing in event operations and why we did it that way. And can I work an event with you to learn? I wanted to understand the world of philanthropy and college athletics. And so if we have an event and you need somebody to work the check-in table, I will do that. So yes, I started from a position of servant leadership. I believe that I've been given the promotions that I've received and advanced in my career because people recognized and appreciated that servant leadership mentality. What I will say, sitting in my seat today, that is still at my core who I am, but I've had to evolve from that a bit because I'm now in a position where I've got to make sure that I'm delegating more and I am setting the expectation and speaking to vision and values and at a more higher level working to create an environment that fosters creativity and innovation. And so in doing some of those things at the highest level for the organization, I can't quite get in the weeds like I once did regarding, let me help you with this, let me help you with that, so in summary, what I'm saying is I pride myself on being a servant leader, but I have evolved beyond that in a way to really start to strengthen my skill set in being a visionary leader, someone who inspires beyond just service, not to minimize service, but beyond service. So maybe I've evolved to lean in different ways, given the current scope of my responsibilities and leading at the highest levels for our organization and institution.
Yeah, what I hear you saying is you're still a servant leader.
Yes.
Just the perspective of how you serve people has grown and evolved a bit, right?
Yes. Thank you.
The evolution of leadership in terms of what you just mentioned, right? Becoming a visionary, learning how to delegate, learning how to set the tone for the future. While it's impossible for us to tell how we will evolve to become the leader we are ever evolving to become, we are laying the groundwork in what we're doing to become that person. Can you tell me what you do now to help you become whoever it is you're trying to be further down in your career?
I mentioned the word growth. I mentioned growth mindset earlier. And, as I am keen on continuous development and growth and learning, I have tried to build a network of leaders who have demonstrated over the course of their career excellence, success, values that I'm inspired by. And so I've tried to make intentional connections with leaders across industries to learn more from them, those people who've been there and done that and have the time to mentor me and to be a sponsor and an advocate. And so I would say that, I'm looking at the leaders across different organizations and different industries to help me continue to evolve and grow and develop.
And the nature of what we discussed so far, I imagine you do some of that learning from the people that you're serving, right? Some of these student athletes probably can teach you something that, that's an excellent idea. Let's do that.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely. Absolutely. It's for some reason, many think that your mentors have to look a certain way and, have been in the business for a certain number of years. What I am finding every day, especially given how important it is for me to remain connected to our student athletes, they're the innovators. They're the creative ones. They're the ones who inspire forward thinking and innovation and all of the things that we need, right, to keep progressing and to keep advancing. So no, I don't limit the mentor role to a certain mold, if you will. No, I'm looking for insights and intel and thoughts and ideas from anyone who will share it. I've got an open mind when it comes to that.
Trying to summarize what I've learned here, really, in this conversation. The three things: the experience of you and the people around you, the commitment to excellence in terms of student athlete experience, coaches, and the sports, and then also a focus on inclusion. I think this has been an excellent conversation, Darrice. I really appreciate you joining us here on the One Question Leadership Podcast.
No, thank you for what you're doing with this podcast. And I'm humbled and honored to be included. So I appreciate this more than you know.
Yes, ma'am. I actually will plan to have you on in a couple of years where I see either what you're doing at Georgia or where you're going in your career.
There you go. I appreciate it. Look forward to it.
That was Darrice Griffin. She is the Senior Deputy Director of Athletics at University of Georgia. And of course, I am Ty Brown with the One Question Leadership Podcast. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of the One Question Leadership Podcast is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.